Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. No one! Absolutely no one! AEW, let's sign some more wrestlers! Over the last few months, we've seen Sting, Ethan Page, Big Show Paul White, and Christian Cage join AEW, trainee talent like Red Velvet officially sign, and Impact and New Japan stars like the Good Brothers and Kenta cross over. As if AEW's own roster wasn't enough already. And according to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select, another name could be coming in too, as former Quizzlemania Tag Team Champion Doc Gallows has been pitching to AEW higher-ups that they should bring in former WWE star Big Cass, or Kaz XL as he's now known, saying people have to ask about a guy like that. He's 7 foot tall, you can't teach it. Kaz XL recently returned to the wrestling world at a Lariato Pro Show, a promotion run by Gallows with his former tag partner Enzo Amore. Speaking with WrestleTalk.com's Louis Dangoor, Kaz spoke about how Gallows has been a big influence on his career, and it was down to him that he made his return to wrestling in the first place. Cass was released by WWE in the middle of a huge push against the recently returned Daniel Bryan for reported behavioural issues. He then had a controversial run on the indies, including a negatively received invasion angle at the joint Ring of Honor New Japan show and an alleged fight with Joey Janela. In our interview with him, Cass has spoken about how he has since confronted his demons, going to rehab and embracing the Alcoholics Anonymous program. Do you want to see Big Cass in AEW? Let me know in the comments down below, where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere saying, and how about a side of Andrade to go with your Big Cass? Andrade has been a free agent since he left WWE last month, but there's been conflicting reports about whether or not he's restrained by a 90-day non-compete clause, making speculation and mania run wild. Andrade has now tweeted a leopard emoji and a fist emoji, with some believing the leopard emoji means Jaguar, i.e. the Jacksonville Jaguars, or Jaguars as the Americans seem to say, which is where AEW is currently based, while others think it could be the logo of New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is also a tiger. Or maybe he's joining forces with The Undertaker to save Big Cats. Andrade to save Big Cats with The Undertaker confirmed. But what about the other direction of AEW talent turning up on WWE? Chris Jericho will be interviewed by Steve Austin on the WWE Network's Broken Skull sessions this Sunday. Adam Blampied will have a wrap-up video of it on Parts Unknown the next day, and the first trailer has now revealed what we can expect. Austin goes through a list of Jericho question sheet. While Jericho did mostly talk about WWE stuff, working with Kevin Owens and Shawn Michaels, saying Roman Reigns will be in the Hall of Fame, he did name drop All Elite Wrestling's Sammy Guevara as his favourite tag team partner, along with new AEW signee Big Show Paul White. CM Punk recently said that he thinks the show will be softball questions and a feel-good interview about Jericho's time in WWE, and this trailer certainly seems to back that up. It's Thursday. You know what that means. My review of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. But before we get into that, please support WrestleTalk and give us a subscribe, because a third of you right now aren't. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe to get my WrestleMania reviews first this weekend, because that's not all that's on the hairline. As if we raised £10,000 for the mental health charity Calm before the end of night 2, I'll have to shave my head. The link's in the video description below to donate, but I don't think you've got it in you. You're old cheapskates. My hair isn't going anywhere. Thanks for your support on Patreon, the cleaner Kenny Shah, and Luke's favourite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba. The show opened with Hangman Page wrestling the Acclaim's Max Caster, who rapped he wanted Hangman to treat him like a breathalyzer, which I think was his way of telling Page to suck his penis, but in a threatening way, not a romantic way. Page jumped Caster and Bowens because he didn't want to suck either of their penises. The Acclaimed got in loads of heel interference to give Caster the heat, but Page awesomely took them both out to win, and then drank a beer on National Beer Day. Yay! responsible drinking. The best friends interrupted Death Triangle's in-ring interview, presumably setting up a feud whether or not Triangle win the tag titles next week. The Inner Circle are back in black, awesomely opening the show, turning up in black suits and vehicles. I sure hope no one writes, "Hey, hey, hop, hop," on the cars with easily washable paint. This set up a fantastic babyface in-ring promo for Jericho, roasting every member of the Pineapple, calling MJF my jerk-off friend, and that we should all change the wrestling fan word Mark to Max, because MJF is a Max for himself. And over a year after the first version was scrapped, Jericho announced that Inner Circle will take on the Pinnacle on the 5th of May episode of Dynamite in a blood and guts match, or AEW's version of War Games, which I can't wait for. It's going to be amazing, but it does double down on AEW's more violent, hardcore TV direction, following the Baker vs. Rosa and exploding barbed wire death matches in recent months. This is thought to be turning off female viewers and will likely limit AEW's overall audience growth. Later on, the Pinnacle attacked Jericho during his backstage interview, having bolted the rest of the Inner Circle in their locker room. So who should come out to save him but the guy he had a scuffle with last year, Mike Tyson, who will be the special enforcer for next week's Dax Harwood vs. Jericho match. Tyson looked brilliant here, unloading turbo fists on Shawn Spears, and the idea of him now helping Jericho shows how much Y2J has changed since their last interaction. I just wonder what the original plan was coming off that angle last year. Taz offered Christian Cage a place in Team Taz, which Dasher called a massive opportunity. Speaking of massive, here's Jurassic Express versus Bear Country. No, Dasher! Leave those terrible segues elsewhere. But seeing that she's done it, speaking of massive, it's Jurassic Express versus Bear Country, brought to you by Godzilla vs. King Kong. I love pro wrestling. This had loads of cool power spots, and Luchasaurus picked up the win, as he should, because a giant radioactive lizard should always beat a big monkey. In what might be the low-key coolest segment of the episode though, QT Marshall cut a fantastic pre-produced promo from the Nightmare Factory with his new faction, sitting on his Steel Steps throne. Anthony Ogogo in particular stood out from the group, who'll be making his in-ring debut next week. And then for the big promo finish, Komoroto threw blue paint at the Nightmare Factory sign. What is it with paint this week? A Sting interview got interrupted again. This is becoming too much now. Seemingly setting up a Lance Archer faction with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky watching on. A faction for you! A faction for you! A faction for everybody! And then Sting chased off Ryan Nemeth at ringside so Darby Allin could have a straight-up TNT title match with JD Drake. My younger Kevin Steen-loving heart was really impressed by Drake, who took 90% of the match before Allin won with a coffin drop. Matt Hardy then attacked Allin ahead of their Falls Count Anywhere TNT title match next week, finally giving the belt back some momentum by actually being defended. Britt Baker called the ranking system Bull S-word, as it should be based on merch sales, not wins. The Bunny looked awesome in defeat in her loss to Ty Conti, making you wonder why she hasn't been wrestling more in AEW. Shida helped Conti overcome the Bunny's kendo stick cheating, respectfully building their champion versus #1 ranked challenger feud. And the main event saw the huge trios match of the Super Elite taking on John, Moxley and the Young Bucks. The main story playing underneath the typically excellent in-ring action was Matt Jackson's reluctance to really fight his former best friend Kenny Omega. Things have come a long way since they respectfully fought each other at last year's Revolution. But even with Omega's cheap shots and snapdragons on Matt's famously injured neck, Jackson still couldn't bring himself to hit the BTE trigger for the win. This pissed off Moxley, who hates Omega for, trying to explode him. I know how that feels, Mox. So he hit 2 paradigm shifts and locked in the choke for the Bucks to super kick him off. The Good Brothers took out Kingston on the ramp and draped Kenny's unconscious body over Mox to get the win. The Elite are together again, but it still doesn't seem like the Bucks are thrilled about it. And I don't think I am either. And not just because I'm being worked like a Max. I feel like I've seen this story beat a few times already. I applaud AEW for telling emotionally complex feuds. Sometimes you keep repeating old toxic behavior because you're stuck in a cycle, but I think now's the time to fully commit to the Bucks being full faces or full heels. Then, that'd strengthen Hangman Page's character because the Elite would have turned fully heel without him, meaning he wasn't the problem. What did you think of AEW Dynamite? Let me know in the comments down below and vote in our poll on a poll match on the community tab, where 52% of you went for blood and guts and Mike Tyson's fists, just 4% in front of Young Bucks versus Big Show in a who has more heel turns match. Even AEW's really solid building shows have at least several standout moments. QT and Jericho's promos, the Tyson angle, a great match with Darby and Drake. But the Bucks storyline is starting to loop back on itself. By AEW standards, this week's Dynamite was 3 out of 5. And it'll likely be trounced in the ratings by NXT's last Wednesday night episode, their TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1 special. Here's Tempest to review that in about 5 minutes.
Holy smokes, bologna, fudge, and mustard. Stop the presses, stop the internet. Tempest the Wrestler is here with a review of NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1. And God, that was amazing! That's right, taking the place of Tempest Temptations this week is going to be the review of Night 1 of TakeOver in about 4 minutes. Now, before the main show started, we had the kickoff show, which, in a rare feat for NXT, featured a match, that being Zoe Stark versus Toni Storm. This was a very good match, as the people in NXT clearly have plans for Zoe Stark. This was further exemplified with her beating Toni Storm. But the main show opened with Pete Dunne versus Kushida. This match was really fun, a perfect opening match. It didn't go too long, clocking in at just over 10.5 minutes, with Pete Dunne picking up the win with the Brutalizer. Many of NXT TakeOver's cards have been so great because every match on the show was different, and this was perfectly exemplified here, as Kushida versus Pete Dunne was totally unique compared to anything else on the show. The next match was the NXT North American Championship Gauntlet Eliminator #1 Contenders match. God, that's a mouthful. Leon Ruff was jumped on the entrance ramp by Isaiah Swerve Scott, and the two wrestled around a little bit before the match finally got started in the ring, and they were eventually joined by Bronson Reed. Now, there was a lot of fun to be had here with the big man, the small man, and the medium-sized man all taking turns hitting cool moves, and they were eventually then again joined by Cameron Grimes. We also soon got our first elimination as Leon Ruff was booted from the match before Dexter Lumis joined. I really don't like Dexter Lumis. LA Knight was the last man to enter the match as he cut a promo on all of his other remaining competitors, and we got another elimination as Dexter Lumis locked in the silence on Cameron Grimes as he was about to choke him out. LA Knight rolled him up for the pin, eliminating Dexter Lumis. Lumis did not take kindly to this, as you know, serial killers probably would. The remaining competitors then teamed up to eliminate LA Knight before Dexter Lumis put him in the silence, hinting at the possible future program for the two. With Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, and Isaiah Swerve Scott all remaining, they all took turns hitting some really nifty moves before Isaiah Swerve Scott pinned Cameron Grimes, holding onto the tights for leverage. Then things got absolutely awesome. As Isaiah Swerve Scott and Bronson Reed were the final two men remaining, they took turns hitting big moves before finally Bronson Reed hit a big tsunami splash for the win. But then the match that everyone is talking about, Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK Championship. Walter is a perfect pro wrestler. Not everything he does is like clean and crisp and technical like you'd expect out of someone like Daniel Bryan, but everything that Walter does and everything that makes Walter Walter is perfect. He is a perfect pro wrestler. Walter went and missed a chop on the outside, hurting his hand in the process, and this was what Tommaso Ciampa zeroed in on and attacked for the rest of the match. Just more great psychology as Tommaso Ciampa tried his best to knock Walter off his feet with about 16 or 17 clotheslines in a row, never getting the job done before Walter hits one chop and Tommaso Ciampa powers back up and hits another clothesline. I love this match. I could recap this move for move, but it wouldn't do it justice. You all need to go and watch this match pronto. But eventually, Walter was able to get the win with a simple chop. If you can tell me when the last time a major promotion had a match end with just a chop, I would very much like to hear it. We then saw another vignette of the former Taya Valkyrie, now known as Frankie Monet, as she will now be debuting on the Tuesday debut of NXT. Can't wait for her to just be called Frankie. We then had the triple threat match for the vacant NXT Tag Team Championship as MSK took on the Grizzled Young Veterans and Legado del Fantasma. There were so many cool moments and spots, but I really enjoyed how Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK really shaped up to be the ongoing feud in the tag team division in NXT. Ultimately, it was MSK getting the win and winning the NXT Tag Team Championship for the first time. These two, man. These two rascals are just fantastic. And that leads us to our main event, Raquel Gonzalez versus Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. Dakota Kai got kicked out of the match early for interfering in what Pete Quinnell very aptly said should have been a DQ, but I mean, come on, it's the main event of TakeOver. They're not gonna DQ, come on, that would be ridiculous. They really built up Raquel Gonzalez to be the biggest threat to Io's title that she's faced so far. And ultimately, yeah, it worked because Raquel captured the NXT Women's Championship for the first time, defeating Io Shirai. Ultimately, the match peaked as Io once again climbed the stage. They gotta stop putting ladders back there, man. Like, ugh. Hide the ladder when Io's around. Io climbed to the top of the skull as part of the NXT TakeOver set, and she jumped off, hitting a crazy diving crossbody. It looked like she just smashed her legs and hip into the stage, but thankfully it seems she was alright. They were able to get back in the ring, where Raquel was once again able to hit her choke bomb for the win. And with that, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1 went off the air. A fantastic show, 5 out of 5, one of the best TakeOver events of all time. I stand by that statement. And remember, of course, that you can check out the live reactions for NXT TakeOver Night 1 right over on WrestleTalk Podcast, as well as our live reactions of Night 2 tonight over on WrestleTalk Podcast. Myself and Pete will be breaking down all the action. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. It's going to be a great time, so make sure to join us. And jam that jam.
You can watch our live reactions for NXT Night 2 tonight, our WrestleMania predictions, and the AEW Dynamite review on the WrestleTalk podcast channel. Click the video on the right to watch that now and go and subscribe over there. And has The Fiend's new look been leaked ahead of WrestleMania? Click the video below that to find out. I've been Mr. Davis. Don't donate to that charity cause to make me shave my hair. Jam that jam.